Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be looking at the second in the Fantastic Locations series of products. This is going to be my review of Hellspike Prison. So this, like I said, this is the second in the Fantastic Locations series of products. If you're not aware, if you didn't see the first video, which is Fan of the Drow, Fantastic Locations was a product sort of conceived as a way of cross-promoting the D&D minis game, which is like the plastic pre-painted random boosters of minis, with the tabletop role-playing game. So each of these products will contain two double-sided poster maps. It will also contain a 16-page booklet, which has a 15-page adventure inside of it that makes use of the locations that are depicted on the maps. And it also has a generally one-page, series of rules or scenarios that you can do for the actual miniatures game if you wanted to do so. The products were, they came out this one I think came out in November of 2005, and the retail price for this when it first released was $14.95 US and $19.95 Canadian. So this is for D&D 3.5 as it came out in 2005. That was the current edition at the time, and on the back it says Vanquish Evil in the Fiery Depths. So the premise of this adventure is pretty simple. I'll show the maps as we sort of talk about the locations that we get into, so you can sort of have a little bit of a frame of reference. But the premise of the adventure is, quite simple. So there's a village where all the inhabitants have disappeared. There are several different plot hooks that can get the characters involved with this. So they may have a friend or relative that was in the village, and when they arrive at the village to visit them, or because they haven't heard from them a little bit, they discover that the village has been burned to the ground, and there are some, corpses and stuff, but it, looks like their, family member or friend or whoever it is was actually taken away with a group of the other villagers. You can sort of see like heavy boot prints, and you can see like human footprints sort of alongside of them that, looks like sort of like in a forced march type of thing. They could be tasked to investigate the disappearances of all the villagers by an organization, or there may be a campaign villain that the players may be following, or a minion of this villain that they may be following. And he happened to be at the village, and now everyone at the village has disappeared, so they need to find out if he was working with them, with whoever destroyed the village, or find him and get whatever information they were looking for out of him, or they could just stumble across the locations by pure chance. So you get several different plot hooks here. The village itself is just a few miles away from a location called Castle Ferrol, which was once a stronghold of a tyrant by the name of the Iron Lord, I think it is. Now he's no longer around. However, the keep that he erected, even though part of it has collapsed into like the earth and into this pool of lava that sort of surrounds it, he's not, or the keep isn't completely abandoned. Some time ago, a barbed devil was summoned using a device, or a monolithic device called the Hellspike. He was summoned, however, the summoning wasn't perfect. The barbed devil's name, I'm going to get this, it's hard to pronounce because it's Kazrazikal. Kazrazikal is the name of the barbed devil. So he was actually summoned, but he was not bound by the will of the summoner. So the person that summoned him, he murdered, discovered the Hellspike, and essentially wants to bring forth a group of fiendish, minions for him to command, and for them to sort of wreak havoc or bring order to the nearby land. The problem with the Hellspike is that it is currently incomplete. There's a piece of it missing, and that missing piece prevents the spike from actually working properly. So with human sacrifices, or the sacrifice of sentient creatures to the spike, it can be used to open up a portal that can draw forth one individual from the 9 hells. Typically, like he summoned some lemures and some other things, which we'll sort of get to in a moment. However, if he can find the final piece and make the spike whole again, he can actually open the portal permanently and just be able to bring things through whenever he decides. The missing piece is also the key to not only rendering the portal or the spike completely fully operational, but it can also be the spike's undoing. So there's, it can be used to destroy the Hellspike as well. So when the characters get involved, the first location that they start the actual adventure proper in is the Magma Keep, which is this map here. It's just easier for me to show the maps from the inside covers and to try to unfold the maps and try to fit them all on camera at one time. So the characters start in location number 1, and so that's the map that they have. The next section, actually the Hellspike Grotto, which we'll get to in a moment, those two maps are actually meant to be directly connected to one another. So you can go seamlessly from one location to the next. So starting with Area 10, sort of connects to like this part up here. So they actually put some thought into how directly the map's connected, and I do appreciate that. Anyway, inside the Magma Keep itself, the characters will fight some Barghast mercenaries. Early into their exploration of the location, they actually do come across several of the captured villagers, which they can free pretty easily. There's like a nearby key that's just out of reach of the prisoners because they are chained. However, when they sort of start doing that, or if they make noise with the early encounters with some of the Barghast mercenaries that were used to capture these people in the first place, it does trigger a pair of chain devils, actually 3 chain devils, sorry, a trio of chain devils. And the chain devils, I think, are actually pretty cleverly designed as far as their tactics go, because what they'll do is they'll rush into the room with the player characters, but if the player characters start, fighting them off, then they'll, feign like weakness, and they'll retreat back into the room that they came from, hoping that the characters will follow them. The room that they came from is completely just draped in chains, like all along the walls, hanging from the ceiling, just laying on the floor. So if the characters enter there, the chain devils can use their animate chain ability to actually have like the chains and have the room itself sort of attack the player characters. There's also a really cool encounter in one of the other rooms where there is a female chain devil that was summoned by the Barb Devil. I'm just going to call him the Barb Devil because that name it's hard for me to pronounce and it's hard for me to remember, so I don't want to keep flipping back and forth. But she was actually summoned by the Barb Devil, but again felt no allegiance to him. So he decided to punish her by having her sort of confined to this room and to have her body partially transforming from her normal like legs basically to like actual chain. So she's slowly being turned into just this massive chain. So she can fight anyone in the room. She can go anywhere within the room that she is encountered in. However, like the chains are connected, like they're attached to the floor, so she can't go into any other adjoining area. Unfortunately, she's not interested in alliances or anything like that. So if the player characters come in, they may want to try to help her to gain an ally, but it's just not going to go very well. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Of course, as a dungeon master, you can always change that if you want. While going through the keep, you can actually come across a study which is partially collapsed, along with like half of what the structure used to be. But there's a series of scrolls that actually actually tell the stories of the Iron Lord, who was trying to, basically was investigating the Hellspike. He learned that a piece of the Hellspike was removed, and that piece is referred to as the Cacofex Splinter. And that splinter needs to be returned in order to make the Hellspike whole again so that the portal can be used and be stable and permanent and not just require like living sacrifices to be made repeatedly just for like one thing to be brought forth. Like the more powerful the devil, like the more sacrifices you need to make to it, basically. So he's discovered that there is an item called the Eye of Eramu, and that is currently being guarded by a creature or a being by the name of Verarax, and Verarax refuses to let the Iron Lord use the item, even just temporarily, to find the location of the Cacoflex Splinter. So it details an effort by the Iron Lord to go into this mushroom or this grotto where this individual is, where they're layered basically, to take it by force. So that's sort of like the last entry is detailing the plans. We never find out what happened, and the Iron Lord is long deposed, so who knows what actually occurred there. So going from the magma keep, the next encounter location, as I'd said before, is the Hellspike Grotto. So here it is on the map. So you can see that there are some Varghouls, which we have here. So they're like basically like the flying head monsters. You have some Lemures, you have some Barghest, and you have Enarinis that are all sort of minions here. Now, when the characters get into the first area here, there's actually an invisible imp that's sort of keeping watch. And the imp, as soon as it spot the characters, while it's still invisible, it will actually scream out an alarm. And because this area is open, everything here can actually hear the alarm, and including the Barb Devil, which we have here. So Kazrazical. Man, fantasy names are so painful to try to pronounce sometimes. But he has a group of basically of the prisoners that he's planning on sacrificing to the Hellspike here. Now, once the characters actually start, or the alarm gets sounded, or the sound of combat with the Varghouls, or the Irini, or the Barghest, because they all congregate if the alarm is sounded. So basically, as soon as any sort of noise happens, what essentially occurs is the Barb Devil immediately starts sacrificing individuals. So we do have a round-by-round breakdown of when certain things will come into effect. So on round 1, after the alarm is sounded, or basically whenever combat starts, you have the Varghouls. They're sort of the first thing. After 2 rounds, the Hellstrike Legion Barghest arrive from Area 12. After 3 rounds, there's a sudden increase in volume and intensity of the screams to the northwest. So this is basically the clue that the people are being thrown into the lava pit and being sacrificed, like literally screaming, "Please, no, don't throw me in the lava." And then after 4 rounds, the Irenes arrives to make her presence known as well. And then we get to I'm not going to say final, because it's definitely not the final encounter, but we get into the encounter with Kazrazical himself, so the Barb Devil. In the event that the characters weren't able to stop him from making these sacrifices. So essentially what happens is 3 rounds after the first fight breaks out, he begins sacrificing the prisoners at a rate of 1 prisoner per round. So if the characters don't reach him, or they're not able to stop him by the time that 9 rounds have gone by from the moment that a fight first triggers, then he's actually able to successfully summon a pair of other Barb Devils, I believe, into the fight. Yeah, so 2 more Barb Devils will arrive. So that makes the fight very, very difficult. If the player characters are able to get to Kazrazical before that happens, and they're able to actually put a bit of a beating on him, if he's reduced, I think, to around 20 hit points or something like that, he will actually teleport away. At this point, the villagers may be freed, but the threat of the Hellspike still exists. So the next stop would be the Mushroom Cavern. And I guess I should have said cavern and not grotto. I'm thinking of the next, or one of the next fantastic locations already. But yes, we have the Mushroom Cavern next. And the Mushroom Cavern is this map right here. So in this location, it's an Underdark location, so you get to fight some creatures like, there's a Roper, there's some Earth Elementals, there's some Darrow, but the main encounter here is Vararax himself, and Vararax is a freaking Beholder, and I couldn't be happier. Beholders are my favorite monsters of all time, so yeah, if you're going to incorporate them into an adventure, I am completely and totally on board. So if the characters manage to defeat the Beholder, find the magic item that they need, it shows the location of the Cacofex Splinter, which is in a location known as the Temple of the Prismatic Flame. So, the Temple of the Prismatic Flame is right here. There's a group of salamanders that have taken up residence. However, this location was originally built and crafted by a group of dwarves. These are the same dwarves that also had tried to summon the Barb Devil in the first place, but that didn't go very well, and he killed people. So they like destroyed part of, or they removed the spike or the splinter from the spike so that it wouldn't be at full power anymore, and sort of try to keep it away from him. So the spike is actually located here in Area 29, and it's inside of this prismatic flame. So there are different elemental creatures that the characters have to defeat in this location, and essentially what that does is it deactivates the field and allows the characters to claim the splinter. So the splinter itself, if it's put back onto the spire where it was essentially taken from, it can be used to create a permanent portal. All you need is some sentient life sacrifice to it, and it creates a permanent stable portal that creatures from the Nine Hells can come through. Or if you take the spike within a certain distance, or the splinter within a certain distance of the spike, the magic that's currently contained in the spike, which acts as a +2 unholy short sword if you just use it as a weapon, it actually will lose that magical energy and become completely and totally like inert, non-magical, and at that point it's vulnerable. So if it's within a certain number of feet, the magic gets transferred to the spike itself, but it's still not whole enough to create the stable portal. And if you destroy the splinter, then you can basically make sure that if you destroy the splinter, then the whole spire, or the whole Hellspike itself, is completely destroyed. It's rendered completely inoperative, inert. The magical energies are dispersed, and any of the fiendish creatures that have been summoned will be returned to their native plane. So if the characters, they fought the Barb Devil and he managed to get away, if the characters come back to try to destroy the spike, then he'll be there sort of like a final encounter type of thing to fight to the death to prevent them from affecting his plans. But hopefully with the characters destroying the Hellspike, it brings upon the conclusion of the adventure itself. So it's not elemental creatures. There's elements tied to the altar that this prismatic energy is on. But anyway, so in the further adventure section, the main thread that sort of hangs from this particular module is the whereabouts of the mysterious clan of dwarves, who actually created the prismatic temple, the flame, the splinter that was stored there. And basically, they may return, they may discover who it was that disrupted their plans, and they may seek revenge against the player character. So there is, some stuff that, there's that plot thread that you can use to expand upon and create further adventures. Of course, the Barb Devil himself may become incensed that his plans were disrupted by the player characters. So you could also have him try to affect things in other ways. Maybe like trying to get like devil worshippers or something to go after them. So there are different things that you can obviously do based on the fallout from the adventure itself. So, but that was the Hellspike Prison module, and I really liked it. Honestly, I liked this one better than Fane of the Drow. I'm not going to say that it's my favorite of all of them. Though it may be. I can't say that yet because, truthfully, it's been like 15 years since the last time I read any of these. So I can only really compare it to Fane of the Drow, which I really did like Fane of the Drow, but this one was a little bit better. I didn't notice any like mistakes or like unpolished elements like what we had with Fane of the Drow. Like there was no C page XX. It does like actually give you the proper page number this time. So I think they sort of fixed some of those things, but overall, the thing that I liked about it the most, it was the fact that, it had a beholder, so like that's obviously going to be a big factor, but I actually do like the fact that all 4 of the map locations are tied to the module, like in a direct way. With the Fane of the Drow, you had 3 of the 4 maps were integral to the plot of that module. But the 4th one was sort of an optional thing that the players could go and check out like after they wrapped everything else up. But, it was something that you could just completely skip and completely miss. And, it felt like it was tacked on because it's a double-sided map and they didn't know what to do with the other side, almost. No, they pulled it off still pretty well, and that was crucial. That superfluous map was crucial to their like further adventures, plot hook sort of stuff. But it still, again, felt a little bit more disjointed. This one here, everything was, directly related to the adventure itself, and getting you from point A to point B to C to D and back to B to finish everything off. It flowed really well, and yeah, I think it told a pretty decent story overall. Now, again, these are 15-page modules, so when I say it told the story well, I mean it told the story well for what a 15-page adventure booklet can do. So, these aren't going to be like, the Keep on the Borderlands or, Descent into the Depths of the Earth or Temple of Elemental Evil or, Ravenloft. They're not going to be up to that quality. But what they are, decent, solid little adventures that you can easily build upon and expand upon and integrate into your campaign. The maps themselves are awesome and, just great for coming up with ideas as well. But the stories themselves, they are interesting. There are some cool villains. There are some cool concepts like the Hellspike, the dwarves that found it, the prismatic temple that they created. There's just a lot of different, unique or interesting aspects to it. Plus there's a beholder, so it's automatically awesome. But yeah, I mean, these are really solid. Like I said, I love these types of products, and I really do wish that we would see these come back. I'm probably going to say that in all of these videos, so get used to getting really sick and tired of hearing that. But it is true. Like, I really do think that these are really decent, cheap products. They're black and white. They're not full color. The maps are, obviously, and the inside cover is. But the actual booklets themselves, they're black and white. It's just like, it has a very old school sort of modular feel to it. And, these products, would be great for releasing, 2 or 3 a year. And just have them sort of in gaps between, major book releases. You could have them tied to, maybe your big storyline. They could be sort of like an offshoot thing. Or they could just be their standalone. They could be used to help, flesh out or just get more use out of established campaign settings that have been released for the edition already. So they could be supplemental material for that. I don't know. Overall, I think that these are just really solid products. I mean, they're not going to set the world on fire. You're not going to go through and look at this and read it and say, man, that's the greatest adventure I've ever read or ever played or ever run. But it's a lot of fun. It's really easy to expand upon it. And for $15 back in the day, you get a couple sessions of gameplay out of it, and you get some really cool maps. So yeah, I think overall it's just, again, a very sound, solid product. You could release something like that today for around the same price because, you use black and white stuff, cheaper paper quality just to, bring the prices down. And yeah, I think you've got, pretty solid product on your hand. And this one, definitely no exception. And there is an increase in the quality of the adventure from this one to the last one, Fane of the Drow, which was good. It was a solid adventure as well, but this one, felt like it was just a little bit better, right? And we'll see if the rest of the series can hold up to that, because it's been a long time since I've read them. But Hellspike Prison is, a fun little diversion. Could be a great one-shot game. And I think it's worth checking out. It is currently available on DriveThruRPG on the DM's Guild page. You can get this either as PDF or print on demand. One thing I would recommend, if you do get the print on demand version, it is recommended that you bundle the PDF version in as well. I think it's usually maybe $1 or so more. The prices are very similar from the print on demand to the print on demand plus PDF in most cases. But what they basically did with the maps, because the maps are, they're huge, they're full-size, D&D poster maps. What they do is they actually break them down into pages. So like each section of the map would be a page. So if you get the PDF, you can take it on a thumbstick, or you can take it to like a local print shop, Staples, or places that have printing services, or you can print them off yourself if you have the ink. But you can print them off and actually, be able to use the maps that way. So that's one thing I do recommend if you do seek out the print-on-demand version, is to get the PDF as well. You could also try cutting the pages out if you wanted to. I don't like doing that. I'm not comfortable with that, so I can't recommend that. But yeah, just get the PDF as well and print the pages out. 10 cents a page or whatever at your local Staples. But yeah, again, solid product. Really liked it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the next one. I'm hoping that the improvement that I saw from Fane of the Drought to this one, I do hope that continues. So we'll see how that shapes up. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you ever played through any of these Fantastic Locations adventures. Did you go through Hellspike Prison? What were your experiences with that? Were you able to stop the Barb Devil from sacrificing all those people, or did you have to try to fight them later on with backup? Yeah, just let me know how it went. I always love hearing your guys' stories. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.